I met Andrew at a friend's party. It wasn't the moment when someone introduces you to someone, we just bumped into each other at the drinks table. He made a joke, I laughed, and now we're chatting like we've known each other for years. He was charismatic and confident, but he didn't push. We exchanged numbers and went out for coffee the next day. Everything was moving fast, but it was nice. I thought it was fate. What started as a light flirtation very soon became something more. I was over the moon. But then something happened that I didn't expect. A few weeks after the start of our relationship, I noticed some oddities. Andrew began to move away a little. He could not respond to messages for hours, and then write everything off as work. He had his own small company, and he often said that he was on fire. But one day I noticed, in his Instagram stories there was a photo from a party where he was supposed to be in the office. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but my stomach clenched. My gut told me something was wrong. I decided not to make a scene, but just to watch. This was the beginning of my personal investigation. Over time, the oddities became more and more. He started canceling meetings more often, and one day I smelled someone else's perfume on his clothes. He said it was the new cleaner who sprayed something in the office, and like a fool, I believed it. Or wanted to believe it. But that night I couldn't sleep for a long time. One question kept bothering me, what if I'm not the only one? I began to notice that he carefully hides his phone, even when he goes to the shower. He had never done this before. I decided to act. Not to spy, but just to ask the right question at the right time. Over time, the oddities became more and more. He started canceling meetings more often, and one day I smelled someone else's perfume on his clothes. He said it was the new cleaner who sprayed something in the office, and like a fool, I believed it. Or wanted to believe it. But that night I couldn't sleep for a long time. One question kept bothering me, what if I'm not the only one? I began to notice that he carefully hides his phone, even when he goes to the shower. He had never done this before. I decided to act. Not to spy, but just to ask the right question at the right time. My friend, Chloe, agreed to help. She wasn't a detective, but she had an ex who did investigations. Through him, she found out that Andrew has a second social media account with a private profile. The profile name was different, but the photo left no doubt. And in the photo, he's with another girl. Not just a friendly photo. They were hugging. And the date of the post coincided with the evening when he allegedly worked late. I felt like everything inside was collapsing. But I still didn't know how deep it would go. I started looking for information about that girl. Her name was Monica. Judging by her profile, she wasn't from our city, and she probably didn't even know I existed. I hesitated. Should I write to her? Is she a victim like me? I decided to wait. Instead, I began to accumulate evidence. Screenshots, correspondence, locations. I saved all this in a folder called If Anything. I started to distance myself. Emotionally. She no longer responded to his I love you with the same confidence. I knew that everything would change soon. One night, I invited Andrew to dinner. He came with a bouquet. He behaved as if nothing had happened. I decided not to delay. I showed him a photo with Monica. He turned pale. You've got it all wrong, he began. But his hands were shaking. I watched in silence. And then he said, it was a mistake. We were on a break. A break? We never took a break. I got up and left without a word. He didn't stop me. That was the end. Or so I thought. A week later, I received a message from Monica. "Are you Jessica?" I replied, "Yes." She wrote a long message. It turns out he told her that we broke up a year ago. He was deceiving both of them. And not just us. There were 2 other girls. I didn't feel angry anymore, just devastated. With each new detail, he became more alien to me. Everything that happened was a lie. But I knew, I'm not alone. We were victims of the same actor. A week later, I received a message from Monica. "Are you Jessica?" I replied, "Yes." She wrote a long message. It turns out he told her that we broke up a year ago. He was deceiving both of them. And not just us. There were 2 other girls. I didn't feel angry anymore, just devastated. With each new detail, he became more alien to me. Everything that happened was a lie. But I knew, I'm not alone. We were victims of the same actor. It's been a little over a month since I put an end to it. I thought it would hurt more, but it turned out that waiting for the truth was scarier. And when she came, I felt strangely relieved. I went back to my room. I started to rebuild my morning rituals, my favorite coffee, a run, a notebook of thoughts. I listened to podcasts, reread books that I couldn't finish reading before. It was like moving into a new house, familiar, but different. Were you lonely? Sometimes. But now loneliness did not frighten. It became a choice. I didn't need anyone to feel alive. I was my own center, and it was the first time in a long time. I saw Andrew by accident. I was standing in line for coffee when I heard a familiar voice behind me. He walked over as if nothing had happened. He smiled and asked me how I was doing. He said he missed me, that he was thinking about me. He looked confused and a little lost. There was no remorse in his eyes, only hope for his old role. I looked at him calmly. There was no anger or resentment in me. Just a clear understanding, this person is no longer a part of my life. I said, "I feel good." "And so be it." He nodded, stepped back. And I left, easily and confidently. Without looking back. Monica has become more than just another victim for me. We became friends. Laughter, tears, night calls, all this brought us closer, as if we had known each other since childhood. We discussed not only Andrew, but life, choices, mistakes, and trust. It turned out that we have a lot in common. Together we decided to make something useful out of our pain. We have created an online support group for girls who have experienced cheating. We shared stories, accepted the pain of others, and helped heal. It became something important. We didn't just go through betrayal, we took it as the basis of a new force. And there was a meaning to it that I hadn't seen before. One day, I opened my laptop and wrote a letter to myself, the one who once believed blindly. I started with a simple one. "It's not your fault." She wrote about trust, about how easy it is to deceive a person who loves. I didn't blame myself for being blind. I thanked myself for being able to open my eyes. I remembered how long I had been justifying lies. I didn't notice the obvious. And how I found the strength to leave. The letter was a revelation. I reread it more than once afterwards. It became my reminder to never betray myself for the sake of someone else's lies again, because love does not begin with others, but with oneself. Over time, the pain dulled, and there was space inside for something new. I wasn't looking for a relationship. I was looking for a balance. At some point, I met Liam by chance, at a book festival. We didn't rush headlong into each other. We were just talking. No tension, no hints. It was easy. He had a soft voice, a sincere laugh, and a kind of rare honesty in his eyes. We drank tea and shared our favorite books. For the first time, I didn't expect a trick. And although we haven't called it anything serious yet, it was calm inside. No drama, no masks, just two people speaking the same language. Now, looking back, I realize that the pain I went through wasn't the end. It was a test. I'm not telling this story because I want sympathy. I share it for the sake of other women. So that everyone who feels that they are being deceived knows that you are not alone. You're not crazy. You have the right to the truth. Sometimes everything says, don't be paranoid. But your inner voice, it's not lying. Take care of him. This story is not about Andrew. This is a story about choice. About how important it is to choose yourself. And if you're on the edge right now, know that freedom awaits you on the other side.